Feast your eyes, everybody. This is the first plug-in hybrid half-ton pickup truck that will be sold in North America. It's the 2025 Ram 1500 Ramcharger. And to be honest, I had expected Ford to bring us something like this before Ram, because of course they've had the F-150 hybrid for a few years and the Lightning for about a year or so. I had sort of expected they would be the company to merge these two technologies together, but instead it's actually Ram that's going to be bringing us the first plug-in hybrid truck, and it's not quite what I had expected. Now, we all know that Ram is also bringing us a full electric pickup truck with a 168 kilowatt-hour battery or a whopping 229 kilowatt-hour battery. That's going to be wicked fast, over 600 horsepower, etc. But at that announcement, they also said they were going to bring us essentially a plug-in hybrid pickup truck. Of course, Ram prefers to call it a range extender, although we'll address that particular terminology a little later in the video. Essentially, this is a plug-in hybrid, but it's a serial hybrid, which is also an interesting twist, and one with a lot more range than pretty much everybody, including me, had expected. I'd honestly thought Ram was going to give this maybe a 50 or a 60 kilowatt-hour battery pack, but instead, between the frame elements, we get a whopping 92 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That is almost as big as the battery you'll find in a Tesla Model S or a Tesla Model X. And that's how this big truck gets about 150 miles of EPA range. Of course, official EPA range estimates are not available just yet, so it could be somewhere in the 140 to 160 mile range based on what exactly Ram has been saying at the announcement of this Ram 1500. What's also interesting about this is, again, the serial hybrid technology. So instead of using a basically grown-up version of the 4xe drivetrain from a Jeep Wrangler or a Grand Cherokee 4xe, we have none of that going on under the body or under the hood of the Ramcharger. Instead, we have a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 and a generator unit mounted up front under the hood. Then we have motors on the front and rear axles, and there is no physical connection between the one and the other. Now, unfortunately, Ram has not given us a picture of what it looks like under the hood of the Ram 1500, but if I were to guess, my guess is that it probably looks sort of like a Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid, because it probably is using a similar version of that 3.6-liter V6 engine. This lack of connection is what gives the Ramcharger the ability to feel like an EV. It's going to give us 663 horsepower, 615 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, but also after 145 or 150 miles of driving, you can just fill it with gas like a regular hybrid and drive up to 690 miles between the gasoline and the electricity until you have to stop at a gas station and then refill the 27-gallon gas tank. The hybrid system in the Ramcharger is unlike anything that is currently sold in North America, and that's mainly why Ram is trying not to call it a plug-in hybrid. The closest corollary it produced in any volume for North America would have been the BMW i3 range extender, because the philosophy of operation is very similar. Under the hood, we have that 3.6-liter Pentastar V6. It spins a 130 kilowatt generator, and that is continuous rating on that. It's about 170 horsepower. It can go up to 190 kilowatts peak, about 250 horsepower or so, and that power can either charge the battery or it can directly power the motors. The motors will give you 663 horsepower, but also they're directly connected to the wheels, so it's going to drive like a regular EV truck, like a Lightning or perhaps a Rivian. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. It's going to give you one pedal driving. All of that is going to be very electric car normative. And then when the battery charge either gets low or you decide you want to charge the battery or whatever reason the vehicle needs to start the engine, it's just going to hum in the background as a generator backing up the battery pack running the electric motors. So very, very different from what we see in a Grand Cherokee 4xe. Because in a Grand Cherokee 4xe or a BMW plug-in hybrid or pretty much every other plug-in hybrid out there, limited exceptions of course, power flows through a traditional automatic transmission, and that's what a lot of us had really expected with the Ramcharger. Now, the downside to this particular drivetrain design is likely going to be fuel economy. We don't have any official EPA estimates yet, but if we read through the tea leaves here, it's probably going to be about 20 miles per gallon combined. Ram says that we'll get 690 miles of total range, about 545 miles or so of gasoline driving range, so you do the math there. It's about 20 miles per gallon combined. It's most likely that a regular Ram 1500 with the base engine setup is going to give you slightly better highway fuel economy because serial hybrids are not the most efficient hybrid design, which is why other serial hybrids out there truly spend more time than you'd think in parallel hybrid mode, like a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, for instance. If you're out on the highway, it's in parallel hybrid mode. The obvious advantages for this kind of hybrid system are going to be greater regenerative braking potential, the smoothness of operation, and the fact that it feels like an EV, which is certainly what a lot of shoppers are really interested in. So you're going to have that instant torque availability, no shifting, nothing like that's going to go on. Now, to help improve efficiency, it can decouple the front electric motor and use just the rear electric motor, and Ram is going to give us an e-locker in the back, which is kind of a nice touch. What is a little unexpected, though, is that the front electric motor is actually the more powerful motor, 250 kilowatts up front, 238 kilowatts in the rear. We don't have any motor details exactly from Ram on why there is that slight power imbalance, but my guess would be that the rear electric motor is probably rated for greater efficiency and maybe longer term power output, because when you're just cruising down the highway, it's going to decouple the front electric motor, so they've probably put the more efficient motor in the rear. And it's also possible the rear electric motor may be favoring torque delivery instead of horsepower for towing and hauling and that sort of thing. And towing and hauling capacity is definitely going to be high. They say 14,000 pounds of towing capability, 2,625 pounds of payload capability. So this is going to be a fairly stout truck. Now, we don't know exactly how that's going to line up as far as which trims are going to get that kind of payload capacity, because I will say Ram 1500s have generally been a little low on the payload capacity versus comparable trucks in this segment. This is a new generation of Ram 1500, though, as far as the frame design, so it could be that Ram has really addressed some of those complaints. Also interesting, this is going to feature the full suite of accessories and add-ons and doodads available in the regular Ram 1500 because, of course, it's going to be a regular Ram 1500 body. So all the usual bed accessories are going to bolt right on, etc. It's also going to be offered with the adaptive air suspension that I've really loved in the regular Ram 1500. Ram has not said which charge connector the vehicle will have, whether it's CCS or NACS, but they have said that it will support DC fast charging at rates of nearly 150 kilowatts, and it's going to support vehicle-to-load and vehicle-to-grid functionality. So you can back up your home, you could power your campsite, you could charge another EV. It'll be able to offboard power standard about 3 kilowatts or optionally about 7.2 kilowatts. They haven't said what the rating on the vehicle-to-grid or vehicle-to-load functionality over the charge connector will be, but it's probably going to be that same figure. You'll be able to put power out via the electrical outlets around the vehicle or through that connector directly. Now, obviously, there isn't going to be a connector in the front trunk because it doesn't have a front trunk. Instead, it has an engine living up front. But if you want to wait for the full electric Ram 1500, that, of course, will have a front trunk, and it's probably going to have outlets in there as well. Now for some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. This is not going on sale until calendar year 2025. If you want updates on that, you can go over to ramtrucks.com and you can sign up for updates and sign up for the ability to pre-order one whenever the order books open. If you don't need the range extender, you can get your hands on an electric Ram 1500 sooner. That's going to happen late 2024. But if you want the range extender, that's going to be 2025. Now for the good news. You don't have to get a top-end trim in order to get the range extender, and that's one thing that I did find surprising. According to the pictures they sent out, we're going to be able to get a Ramcharger Tradesman, that's basically the base trim, also a Bighorn, a Laramie, a Limited, and then, of course, the very top-end Tungsten. And that Tungsten trim is going to have a ton of stuff on it. It's going to have a 23-speaker Klipsch audio system with center channel speakers for the rear passengers. It's going to have massaging front seats, the heads-up display, the hands-off-the-wheel driving assistance system, etc. We don't know exactly which trims are going to get the Blue Cruise, Super Cruise-like functionality, but that is coming to the Ram 1500. It is currently on sale in the Grand Cherokee L in top trims, so stay tuned because hopefully I'll have my hands on one of those soon. We don't know exactly when it's going to come, but by the time the Ram 1500 is on sale for 2025, that feature will be available. We're just waiting on some final details there. Now, to close out this episode, I know a lot of you have been wondering, why is this not a range-extending EV? Well, that term, of course, means plug-in hybrid, except if we're talking about the one legal definition that's out there of a range-extending EV, which was the BMW i3 Rex in the US. This does not technically qualify for that because the gasoline range is longer than the electric range. And the only definition out there legally for range-extending EV says that the gasoline range has to actually be less than the electric range. And no truck owner out there would want to fill every 100 miles or so. That would be kind of silly stupid. So this is the more logical way to go. You can call it whatever you want. Ram can call it whatever they want. It's a plug-in hybrid, and I think that's just fine. To be honest, I also think that's a more attractive marketing term in the current climate. I know there's a lot of political discussion around EVs and lots of fighting and polarization around EVs. There seems to be a lot less polarization around plug-in hybrids. That's what I would call the Ram 1500 Ramcharger. Either way, I am intrigued by this because this is the kind of truck where you could daily drive on electricity and then you would absolutely not have to worry about towing 14,000 pounds however many miles you wanted to tow it. The only thing that is a valid cause for concern is that if you are not planning ahead and say you hooked up your 10,000 pound trailer and you decided to tow it to Tahoe, you get to the Tahoe or Sierra Nevada foothills, you haven't plugged it in and you didn't press the tow haul button, then there is going to be some point where you have only about 170 horsepower left because that's all the generator can put out. Now, it's going to have a reasonable amount of torque, but it's not going to be climbing that hill swiftly at all. You would be able to stop, let the battery charge either by the generator or at a DC fast charge station. You wouldn't be stranded, but it could be a bummer. On the other hand, if you bought one of these and you knew what you were doing, you would either reserve the charge for that or you'd hit the tow haul button in advance. The vehicle would raise the battery state of charge up to a point where it absolutely would not matter, and you would just cruise up the Continental Divide with your big heavy trailer on the back, absolutely no problem. Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and of course check out the related video on the regular Ram 1500, which has also received a pretty monumental change for 2025. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other social places, and I'll see all of you next week.